Hi again. Today I wanted to make a video about Sky Aleister Crowley. Question I get a lot, like when people see me reading an Aleister Crowley book, or it's actually started my first day of college when all the teachers saw me reading Aleister Crowley book, and they were like, "Hey, Aleister Crowley and Satanism, blah blah," and they asked, "Does everybody know what Aleister Crowley is?" And of course, I was the only one who knew anything about Aleister Crowley, and the teacher would just say something like, "Yeah, do with Satanism or something," and so that's what the kids would then ask me about, like, "How's your Satanism book?" or whatever, and I was like, "Do you even know who Aleister Crowley is?" And she was like, "Yeah, I had to do with Satanism or whatever." It's like, no, you obviously don't know who he is. You didn't read any of his books or anything. He wrote a lot. Like, that's obviously why the teachers were the only ones who knew who he was, because I guess he was more popular in the 50s-ish era. That's when it was most popular. Like, I don't know, he kind of is still popular in certain circles now, but Aleister Crowley was, I don't know, he wrote a lot. Like, I guess you could kind of say, like, how he grew up in a very incredibly strict, sect of Christianity, the Plymouth Brethren, kind of an isolationist Christian group, kind of thought like we're the only true Christians, and they were so, like, quote unquote holy or self-righteous, to the point where Alec, what Aleister was called at the time, his dad was an evangelical priest, and since his dad didn't have to work, like, since he inherited a fortune, his dad, like, only focused on being a priest, and got to a point where his dad had Alec go through the entire Bible, or a bunch of Bibles, like all of their Bibles, and go over in black ink every time I mentioned the word "but." So yeah, obviously, and I think they only lived on water and bread in his childhood. So obviously he was really got really pent up, wanted to rebel, was trying to rebel against his I guess Christian mom and dad. And so he went on to explore all, like, Eastern philosophies, and I know Aleister Crowley kind of had a very explorative life of all the spiritual whatevers. Kind of, yeah, explored a lot. Aleister Crowley, of course, I think the best way to find out who he is by, like, actually reading his books. Like, can't just be like one of those people who say, "No, I haven't read his books, but I've read what other people have written about what he's written, and I not like what other people have written about what he's written," or whatever. I mean, it's like how for to be a foreign language teacher, you have to have lived in the country that speaks that language for at least a year. Like, no matter how much you read or write about something, or how much you get secondhand information, you're not gonna learn any more than when you actually, like, experience it firsthand. And now that he's dead, now Aleister Crowley is dead, the best way to get a first-hand experience is to actually read what he wrote. And like Aleister Crowley, he wrote a lot. Like poetry was one of his major hobbies. Like he wrote a lot of poetry. He was a writer. Like, I guess that was his career, you would say. Like writing. He wrote White Stains, that's a good one of his poetry. Songs of the Spirit. He also liked mountaineering a lot. Like he was really into nature. Like some of his quotes were like, "Modern morality and manner suppresses all natural instinct. Keep people ignorant of the facts of nature and have them fighting each other drunk on boogie tales." So yeah, he just embraced nature a lot. He loved nature. He said paganism is wholesome because it embraces the facts of life, or the facts of nature. How he realized in his kind of Christian sect where he grew up in most of Europe, people were kind of isolated from nature, so they didn't really acknowledge the facts of life. But paganism, on the other hand, acknowledges the facts of life. So embraces nature, and nature just how humans are supposed to live, because it kind of acknowledges people as just truly animals, parts of nature. So he was really into nature. And his other quotes were like, "The great joy of life is the exercise of one's energies. Continual growth, constant change, and the enjoyment of all new experiences. To stop is simply to die. The great folly of man is to establish an attainable ideal." Which I guess is true, but I mean, Aleister Crowley, I get it. Like, if you look up those documentaries, who was Aleister Crowley, first thing you'll see was Satanist or whatever, but that's that's mass media. You can't trust what mass media tells you. Like, they're really sensationalists. They just want the clicks, and I guess this is better. Like, you gotta realize that both sides, no matter who is telling you something, there's often gonna be a bias. Just, I guess their bias is gonna be bigger than mine. Like, I definitely have less of bias, because I've actually read his books. So I have first-hand experience of who Aleister Crowley is. Aleister Crowley, like, I read his autohagiography. Like, instead of a autobiography, he wrote an autohagiography. That's the autobiography of saints. I guess Aleister Crowley believed himself to be a saint because, like, him and his friends, he wrote in his book that him and his friends would go up to the Himalayan mountains, and they'd be in, like, yogi temples, and the yogis would teach them how to levitate. And he talked about how he'd levitate. Him and his friends would levitate, like. So I guess, if you thought you could levitate, you'd think you were a saint too. So that's something to think about, levitation. So, Aleister Crowley, very interesting guy. Yeah, lived a pretty weird life. I think he came up with his own religion at the end of his life. his religion was Thelema, where he kind of totally liberal, let people do whatever they want to do, let them behave like total animals, no rules. Yeah. He was also really into magic. Might have contributed to his saintliness, or how he considered himself to be a saint. And Aleister Crowley, he was he was kind of hard to pin down. Like, if you want a real first-hand experience, you have to read his book. Like, I don't think you deserve to make any judgment of him unless you read one of his books, or at least one of his books. Like, he wrote a lot. Like, it would kind of be sad to just be like, okay, he wrote all those books and we're just gonna leave him in the past. I mean, why not read his books? I mean, Aleister Crowley he also has quotes like, people have really made history of martyrs. So he definitely had quite an experience with reality. Like, he does talk about occult omnipotence with clairvoyance, clairsentience, clairaudience. So I think the people who know what they're talking about, he would probably be one of them. So Aleister Crowley people, now always ask me, who is Aleister Crowley? Now it's out there, now you can figure it out for yourselves. I mean, I'm sure he has books you can read. Aleister Crowley people, check him out. He was an awesome guy. I liked him. Figure it out for yourselves. Oh, and stay kind of peace, kind of well, kind of healthy, and everything's gonna be okay, and just stay awesome, stay creative, and get ready for Halloween, Samhain, my favorite holiday.